Good morning. This is Attorney Patrick Silva coming at you from DUI TV. I'm going to talk to you probably about the number one question that I get. Should I hire an attorney and spend all this money or just plead guilty? When I hear that question, what's going through that person's mind is, what if I spend all this money on an attorney and it ends up being a DUI anyway? Well, here's what you have to think of. If you go in and plead guilty, you're going to be guilty 100%. If you go in and say, let me hire a lawyer to fight this, then you will be not guilty for who knows the entire period, or there might be something that works out. So let me give you a couple examples. Some of my best cases have been cases that came in and looked, for lack of a better term, the crappiest. So had a friend of a friend come in, and he actually came in and goes, Mr. Silva, I want to hire you to go to court and plead me guilty. And I go, what? And I said, we'll call him Daniel. I said, Daniel, you could go do that by yourself. You don't need to hire a lawyer. Just go down there and tell the judge. He goes, no, me and judges don't get along. So Daniel's a little bit of a homeboy, had some problems. Now, Daniel's case sounded like pretty awful. DUI, his blood alcohol ended up being a 0.20. He was under 21. That means he loses his license for a year, and he crashed his car. He's a friend of a friend, so I literally charged him nothing. And I went into court, and I got the police report. I was, whoa, I can't plead this guy guilty. I said, there's something to work with here. So what did I do? I ended up doing the DMV hearing. I subpoenaed the cop to the DMV hearing. The cop comes in, tells the story of what happened, and it doesn't match the report. Lo and behold, the issue was lack of probable cause. What happened in Daniel's case, I got the DMV set aside. That means overturned. That means I won. That means he didn't get a year's suspension. Then what I did is I took that entire DMV hearing, had the audio tape transcribed, and then presented it to the DA. And I said, basically, here's your case. You got a ugly case, especially when the cops admit to speculation and hunches. And that just goes to a bunch of what we call case law. You can't suspect somebody on a hunch or speculation. So I ended up getting it thrown out. That's just one of dozens. If you go to my website, and just look up my success stories, or you go to avo.com and type in my name and look at my success stories, you're going to see a ton of cases that we've got dismissed. So the short answer is, whether you're going to plead guilty or not guilty, and whether you're going to hire an attorney, all depends on you. Do you want to take the chance to hire a lawyer to fight your case? And basically, a guy like me, who just does 99% of his work as DUIs, we look under every rock. We know every point of attack, from the time that they stopped you, to the time that they gave you the field sobriety test, to the time they had you blown to a roadside breath test, to the time you did a blood test. I know all the attacks that help me win a case, get it dismissed, or get it reduced. That was a long-winded answer to probably the number one question I get. Should I hire a lawyer, or should I just go plead guilty? You got to take into your financial accounts too. A lawyer's not going to be cheap, and especially if you hire a good lawyer like myself. It's expensive. That's truth be told. You're going to spend a lot of money. At the end of the day, it might be the same as saying I'm guilty. But guess what? You still got, we'll call it option number 4, because if you don't like what has happened so far in the case, we can always put it before 12 people sitting in a jury and let them decide. And I've won a lot of cases that way. I've had a lot of cases dismissed that way. You got to think of a case as a big, lack of a better term, it's a chess match. And I'll give you an example. I just had a case, it was a blood alcohol, 0.10, cop stopped him, and we set it for trial. That means I went to court 6 days in a row waiting for a courtroom. Finally got a courtroom. I get a courtroom, we go out to the courtroom, and we do these things called motion in limine. That's me kicking out evidence. I kicked out the evidence I wanted, and I'm literally on the side of a mountain at 6 p.m. that night, and my phone rings, and I race mountain bikes, so I'm out there training. The DA calls me. He says, "Hey Pat, my boss wants to settle." I said, "Oh yeah?" He goes, "Will your guy take a wet and reckless?" Now, wet and reckless is a fancy term for reckless driving with alcohol in your system. It's just not a DUI. I said, "No, he's not going to take that." I call my client, relay. He goes, "No, but I'll take a dry." I call back the DA. He calls his boss. He calls me back. It's done for a dry. I beat the DMV on this one, and no DUI. My client wants to be a cop, so he'll end up being a cop. Not only that, he's going to be a good cop, because now he's experienced the other side of the coin. So this is Attorney Silva. Have a great day. Bye.